I'm going to do a not common presentation today, actually. It will be very different from my colleagues. So I'm going to talk about the power of engaging you, DMD patient families, to shape clinical trials. And I will speak a little bit about our ongoing clinical trial, which is named SIDEROS. So I work for Santhera since 2 years ago as head of patient advocacy in Europe. And in the past, I had founded my own patient group to represent a group of rare metabolic diseases, and I was focused in different pillars, such as raising awareness, community building, accelerating research, doing many patient-friendly materials for families and professionals in order to ensure a good education and empowerment of the community. And I have the privilege to do exactly the same at Santhera Pharmaceuticals, but from the industry side. So I have 5 main points that I will refer during my presentation. And the first one is dedicated to the point about working with DMD patient groups. So very briefly, in Santhera we have done many efforts in the Duchenne community, for the Duchenne community. Our clinical development in DMD involved the DELOS trial that is already completed, and it aimed at evaluating the efficacy and safety of idebenone in delaying the loss of respiratory function in patients with DMD, and this is very important, not using glucocorticoids compared with placebo. And actually, it was shown that the idebenone has the ability to delay the loss of respiratory function decline. Currently, we have an ongoing clinical trial called SIDEROS trial that assesses the efficacy of idebenone to delay the respiratory function decline in patients, in this case, using glucocorticoids. So when Tali sent me the invitation, she was extremely focused on having me talking to you about SIDEROS trial. But actually, as a patient advocate, this is not under the focus of my activities. So as you can imagine, I had a problem to solve before I was coming to Israel. So actually, the good part of my work is that I'm constantly liaising and working with the different patient groups. And one of my major tasks in the company when I started was to set up a systematic framework to work with the DMD patient community. As you all know, when we go to the World Duchenne Organization website, we see that there are more than 30 DMD patient groups, which means that the DMD patient community has a powerful and strong worldwide presence. Another step in my systematic framework that I have done was to learn about the DMD patient activities. And for this, I have done a lot of desk research. When we look to the websites of the DMD patient community, we can see immediately that you are extremely focused on accelerating research, improving the care for Duchenne boys, in helping on the community building, helping in the education for the families and medical doctors, and as well advocating for treatments for the Duchenne boys. And also very important, the DMD patient groups are a recognized and integral part of the drug development pipeline. If we consider the 6 main steps, 1, the protocol design of a clinical trial, 2, the pre-study, the study conduct, 4, the analysis and dissemination about a study, then number 5, the regulatory step, and the last phase, the post-approval of a medicine, we can see in these bullet points all the activities and tasks in which the DMD patient groups are involved. So here we come to my second biggest worry when I was preparing my presentation. What shall I talk about today, this afternoon, during my talk? So I want to ensure today that my key message is how powerful it is to engage with the DMD patient groups when we are designing a clinical trial and raising awareness for clinical trials. So in order to define ways to engage with the DMD patient groups, I have considered 2 different methods that you are all aware of that, which is the quantitative method Quantitative is all about numbers. It's all about using statistics, and usually it is in the format of a close-ended questionnaire, versus a qualitative method, which is usually focused on text or narrative from the participants. Usually it seeks to explain something, to understand something, and to reach a consensus. And the usual format can be open-ended questionnaire, or it can be a face-to-face meeting. In our case, what I have done as activity with the Duchenne patient community was to use what we say as a mixed method research. In one hand, a questionnaire followed by a face-to-face discussion with the patient groups. First, what we have done, it was the questionnaire in which we wanted to learn about the DMD patient groups' participation on the clinical research, and also we wanted to learn more about the existing resources for dissemination of information about clinical trials, because we know this is very important for the families. So we had 18 different DMD patient groups participating in this questionnaire from 16 different countries. Sorry, and we had 30 questions, and it took 60 minutes in average to be completed. So when we have asked to the DMD patient groups, have you participated in clinical research about DMD? I'm going to be very honest with you. I thought that the 18 participants would say yes, because we are talking about a very powerful patient community. But actually, surprisingly, only 9 said yes. So there is something that we, from our side, can do and work together with the patient groups. Then what motivates you as a patient or a patient from your organization to decide to participate in a clinical trial? And we have 2 main motivation factors: access to relief of symptoms and the long-term treatment of the disease. Then we have asked, and this was a very important question, among the following existing barriers to participate in clinical trials, which ones do you as a patient or does a patient from your organization find to be the most impactful? And this is very important. Difficulties in understanding informational materials about current clinical research studies was a major factor. So here we have another area in which we need to work together with the patient groups. Then access to transportation, concerns about drug side effects, and being referred to a trial site. It was also mentioned. What would be necessary for you to get involved in clinical studies? And here, for instance, again, information came out to have access to information about possibilities for participation and to learn about established safety and efficacy of a particular drug or biological medicine. We also have asked, how aware about clinical trials do you think the average families you work with is? And we had 9 participants saying that in general the families are aware, but very important, we had 8 DMD patient groups saying that sometimes the families are not aware about clinical trials. How easy or difficult would you say it is for the members of your patient group to find information about ongoing clinical studies for DMD? And here we had 10 from the 18 participants saying that it was fairly easy. Finally, we also asked, on a scale from 1 to 5, how important is the role of the patient groups in providing information about existing clinical studies? And as you can see here, there is a general consensus that the patient groups have an important role here. Also, we have asked who or what has been your main source of information about existing clinical trials for DMD, and here we have the patient organization, also internet, and interestingly, we had also 11 participants saying that social media was a vehicle to transmit this information. How do the members of your organization like to receive information related to the current clinical studies in DMD? So all participants said that it was through the medical doctor or the nurse, also through the DMD patient groups, and also through the scientific conferences. Finally, we wanted to check about the accessibility of information about SIDEROS. So we have, one of our main goals is to raise awareness for SIDEROS trial. And we have this website that is currently available in 5 languages, and we are now waiting for Hebrew approval. We hope that will be quite soon. And if you look to the slide, there are 5 main sections that we have in this website. One is about the DBNON, another one about respiratory function in DMD, SIDEROS trial overview, trial endpoints, and trial locations. So what we wanted to know, because this is for us very important, is how easy would you say it is for the members of your patient group to understand the information that is given in this website? And in general, there is a consensus that is fairly easy. When visiting the website, what are the most helpful sections of the website? And there were 15 from the 18 participants saying that the section about DBNON and SIDEROS trial overview were considered the most helpful sections. When we have asked about what are the sections that are less helpful, there was some participants saying that the section about trial endpoint was not so relevant. So after these results from the questionnaire, we brought the results to a face-to-face meeting with the 18 DMD patient groups that participated in the questionnaire, and we wanted to actively listening what were their thoughts about these results, but not only. We also wanted to learn about what are the materials and initiatives developed by the DMD patient groups to disseminate about respiratory health and SIDEROS trial. And this table was considered for the patient groups as a very helpful table with information about these materials. We actually we were able to create 18 categories related to different initiatives and materials done by the DMD patient groups. And we also have asked to the DMD patient groups from these materials and initiatives, which ones are transferable for your country. And I want to give you an example from the meeting. So these are statements from the transcriptions that we got from the face-to-face discussion. And here the Australian DMD patient representative talked to us about a nurse program that they have implemented in their country to help Duchenne families. And the Spanish representative shared with us an idea about a game that would make the physiotherapy more fun for Duchenne boys. And for instance, the Romanian representative immediately said, look, I want to bring these activities to our countries because it will be very helpful for us as well. So I want to end my presentation to talk to you about the impact of this activity for the DMD patient community and for us as a company. For the patient group side, for us it was very impressive to see that somehow this activity helped to break isolation and to connect DMD patient groups. It also helped to create critical mass around respiratory health, which is our main focus in the company. It also helped to the patient groups to exchange information and also to work together in projects of interest for the Duchenne community, and also to empower them, and it was at the end a capacity building activity. For us as a company, it was very useful and helpful as an activity to help to elevate the importance of the patient among our activities. Also to understand better the needs from the DMD patient community, to connect with the DMD patient groups, to guide our activities and to open more opportunities like participation in conferences and so on. And it helped to increase the visibility and recognition for the patient-centric framework that we wanted to have at Santhera. So in terms of projects that we have done using this feedback that the DMD patient group gave us, we had my colleague from US has done a partnership with PPMD in US, and so recently there are a series of 5 videos dedicated to respiratory health available on YouTube. We also have a respiratory function awareness campaign focused on a website that is dedicated to provide information about respiratory care. And we are also leading a series of interviews with a digital platform called PharmaForum that has very inspirational stories about the some of the main DMD patient opinion leaders. Here you can see Filippo Bucella and his family and many other patient advocates that participated. Also Luca Bucella that participated, giving his experience as a patient. And finally, as final recommendations, when we end up to work with the patient groups, from my experience as a patient advocate at Santhera, it is very important to have a senior management that supports our activities when we go out to work with the different patient groups. Also to set up a patient advocacy team. In our case, we are 2 people working with the patient groups. And then a lot of desk research to identify who are the patient groups, where are the patient groups, what are the activities, and finally it's all about listening to the patient community and the families. Based on that, it is very important to define clear patient evidence and engagement methodologies, and to have good action plans and the adequate activities that are answering to the needs of the patient community. And very briefly to communicate about our activities, to share a lot between patient groups and also with our colleagues from the other companies. And I want to end up with what we consider to be the key takeaway message when we end up to work with patient groups. We strongly believe at Santhera Pharmaceuticals that it is extremely important to do more of what the patient and its family needs. Thank you.